I've made it no secret throughout many videos on this channel that Superman is one of my all-time favourite superheroes, and one of my favourite characters in all of fiction. To me, the Man of Steel is the quintessential superhero, and ever since he first appeared in the pages of comics back in 1938, he's served as a universal symbol of truth, justice and hope. There are plenty of reasons why people love Superman, from his various powers to his colourful cast of rogues, but for me personally, what's always made me enjoy Superman's story so much is the unquestionable humanity and relatability at the core of the character. Now, I know that might sound strange given we're talking about a Kryptonian with the ability to fly and shoot lasers from their eyes, but I've always believed that what makes Clark Kent Superman aren't necessarily his extraordinary abilities, but his incredibly ordinary upbringing that he received, and the human morals and ethics that he gained from being raised on Earth. Focusing on the human side of the Man of Tomorrow often leads to some of the character's very best stories, and when it comes to recent Superman adaptations that translate this idea best, you don't have to look much further than the recently released DC animated film Superman Man of Tomorrow. Now, I've been somewhat hit or miss on DC's animated films for a number of years, but Man of Tomorrow was nothing short of a revelation. It's somehow both a fresh new direction for the company's animated movies and a timeless and incredibly familiar Superman adventure, one that feels like it has a story to tell and a genuine message to share. So in this video, I want to break down how Superman Man of Tomorrow reimagines the long-standing Superman mythos, giving us a unique yet timeless version of the character that examines Superman's humanity and relatability through the lens of identity and belonging. We'll also sit down with the film's writer Tim Sheridan to examine how he approached bringing this film to life, and both how and why he sought to tell this particular Superman story, the message and the meaning that Man of Tomorrow serves to represent, and why I think it's such a necessary and important Superman story to be told right now. Superman Man of Tomorrow serves as the beginning of a new era for DC animation. You see, since 2013, Warner Bros. Entertainment have been releasing a series of movies set within an interconnected shared universe. In total, 14 films were released as part of the DC animated movie universe, with Superman playing a key role in the various Justice League films, as well as having two standalone movies in 2018's The Death of Superman and 2019's Reign of the Supermen. Now, admittedly, I wasn't a huge fan of this series of films. Although I think there were a number of solid and enjoyable movies released under this banner, I often felt like the close ties to the shared universe format resulted in the majority of DC animated movies feeling and looking indistinguishable, and therefore made it more difficult for filmmakers to tell truly unique and character-specific stories in the world of animation that accentuated the strengths of the various heroes. However, with the release of Justice League Dark Apokolips War early this year, the DC animated movie universe came to an end, and in its wake came Superman Man of Tomorrow. Both visually and tonally, a clear departure from the efforts of the previous 7 years. While the DC AMU films often felt like one chapter in a larger narrative, Man of Tomorrow is unquestionably a movie about Superman, with every creative choice made throughout the filmmaking process designed for the betterment of the Man of Steel character. The film chronicles the life of an early 20s Clark Kent, having recently moved to Metropolis with aspirations of becoming a journalist. He interns at the Daily Planet, where he meets the likes of Lois Lane and Perry White, whilst grappling with whether to use his extraordinary abilities for good, or whether to hide them in order to live a normal life. At this point, Clark knows he's an alien, but he's never learned about Krypton or his parents, and it's only after a fight with the intergalactic mercenary Lobo that Clark discovers the true nature of his heritage. During the fight, Clark is rescued by the Martian Manhunter, and as the world witnesses 3 strange aliens fighting in the Metropolis sky for the first time, Clark is forced to face these existential questions. The relationship between Clark and Martian Manhunter especially serves to make Superman choose on how he will use his powers. You see, it's revealed that John Jones has lived on Earth for decades in hiding, and as such could have been the hero the world needed years ago, but chose not to use his powers in order to hide and blend in amongst humans. The question the film attempts to answer is, will they accept us for who we are? As Clark ultimately chooses to come out to the world as Kryptonian, adopting the persona of Superman to become a symbol of hope and trust. This is mirrored by the arrival of the Parasite, a former soldier and father named Rudy Jones, who, after an explosion at Star Labs, was transformed into an energy-consuming monster. Parasite wreaks havoc throughout the city, as the Metropolis people brand him a freak and an alien. And while Superman has to stop Parasite's path of destruction, he ultimately doesn't do it through violence. The film's conclusion sees Clark reach out to the ordinary man within the monster and empathise with him in order for Rudy to regain control of himself. This moment demonstrates that despite his immense powers, Superman's greatest strength has always been his heart and his humanity, with his compassionate and humane response to the Parasite saving the day in a way his fists simply couldn't. The film truly understands what makes Superman who he is, and demonstrates the incredibly real and human centre of this larger-than-life character, and brings a new standalone interpretation of the classic hero to life in a way that feels incredibly honest and real, and to me, represents the very best of what DC animation can be, and what Superman can be as well. However, while I can analyse and offer my interpretations of Man of Tomorrow's themes and ideas, and explain why I think the movie works so well, I wanted to get a second opinion from someone who knows the film better than I possibly could. So I decided to sit down with the film's writer Tim Sheridan to ask him a series of questions about Man of Tomorrow and his creative process when bringing this story to life. So what made you kind of want to make Man of Tomorrow? What was the kind of nucleus of telling that story? And, you know, when you sat around and tried to write it, what were the different inspirations and different Superman stories that you attempted to pull from? And what was the kind of the meaning of the film, to you at least?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background on how sort of the movie came to be. So Butch Lukic, the supervising producer, was tasked with making a movie for DC and Warner Brothers Animation. And he and I had worked together on a series called Justice League Action. I kind of came in at the end of that show, and we developed a really great rapport. One of the producers on that show is Jim Krieg, who's a producer on Man of Tomorrow. Jim and Butch called me in and said, "Hey, we're going to make a Superman movie. Let's talk about what kind of movie we want that to be." And instantly, I mean, we all knew that we had very similar sensibilities to begin with, but right away we knew that we wanted to sort of look at it as a reintroduction. So coming from that place, then we got to sort of decide where we wanted to go. There was a previous cycle of movies that were all part of one large continuing universe of a story, and this was not going to be part of that. And so we were freed up to get to sort of make whatever we wanted to make. And we knew that we didn't want to start with the classic, origin with Krypton and spending a lot of time in Smallville. We wanted to explore a part of Clark's life that we don't see explored as much, certainly not on screen, and that is his early days in Metropolis. And sort of, that time, I think we all understand, once we knew we wanted to do that, that sort of became the focus of the story we were going to tell, because there is something about that period in one's life where you are just striking out on your own for the first time and figuring out your identity. The period in his life where the movie is set, from my perspective now, being a few years out from my early 20s, I look back on that time and realize just how much of it was about understanding, figuring out my identity. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I think when you have a little perspective, you realize how much of certainly your early 20s is about forming your identity for yourself, understanding it. And so that, just because of the nature of when we set the movie, it made sense to be a part of it. It also helps to reintroduce Superman if you're reintroducing him, or if you're introducing him to himself. It seemed like it was part and parcel for this type of story. But more than that, when you sit down to write anything, like this, when you're dealing with a character or characters, because let's face it, Lois Lane and Lex Luthor are, at least as iconic as Superman, Clark Kent at this point. But when you sit down to write those characters and write a story with those characters, the first thing that comes to mind as a writer for a lot of us, I think, is, what do I get to bring to this? Because again, it's about the truth. The only way this is going to work is if I'm telling the truth, and the truth has to be a truth that I identify with, that I understand, that I can tell. And identity becomes, I guess it's something that's very important to me. I guess it's, I think about growing up the way I did, and sort of what in my 20s, what coming to terms with my identity really meant. And I felt like I could bring something personal to that without, imposing a logic upon Superman that isn't part of his story. But I can bring some of my story to him, and we can see how it plays out. I mean, speaking in a very obtuse way, but let me just be very specific about it. I grew up in the 90s in Central Florida, and I was a closeted gay kid, and I felt like the entire world was against me, that I was not going to be able to function in society. I wasn't going to be able to, live the dream that, certainly the American dream, or any dream, certainly Superman's dream. I wasn't going to be able to do that. I felt like the deck was stacked against me, and I had to figure out how to navigate through and have some kind of a life. That's a tragic place to start from. A lot of people start from that place. And it's not just people who are, LGBTQ in the closet at a certain time in a certain place. I feel like we all in our lives have felt like you're the outsider, looking in, that you aren't part of whatever the group is that you maybe want to be a part of, or maybe you don't want to be a part of, but it is still, a dominant group. It's still part of society. It's still part of the community. If you don't feel like you're part of the community, it can be very tragic. Taking that, what was specific for me, but sort of broadening it and looking at it from Superman's perspective, it's very easy to see how you can trace that to Kal-El's life. Kal-El is an outsider. He's on the outside looking in. The thing about him is he's got these fantastic abilities and powers that I think is another part of what we all feel. I mean, part of feeling like you're an outsider who's rejected by your community is the tragedy of that, and why we feel bad about it is we don't usually think, well, that's right, because what do I have to offer? Most of the time we're thinking, but I have something. I have something to give. I am a part of the community, and I have something to offer it. And so that made sense for Superman. It's, he's got these abilities. He has this desire to help and be a part of helping the world grow and be better. Keep in mind too that, so my story was as, LGBT, in a place where that wasn't welcome. Butch Lukic, the supervising producer, he is an American immigrant. He has lived the immigrant story in America. And so, he got to bring to the movie how that feels, being sort of feeling like an outsider and feeling like you have something to offer. And look at what he has to offer. He came from Batman the animated, even before Batman the animated series, but through all of these shows. Batman Beyond was, you just look at those credits, his name's all over that show. I love that show. And you think about all the stuff he's brought to this, in America certainly, and he tells a similar story, but it's funny because our circumstances are different. This is why I say that we all have felt that, we've all faced that, and if we can realize that it's not unique and that we're all in this together and we've all experienced and felt those same things, and that even Superman feels and has felt those things and overcome them, that there's hope for all of us.
Perfect. I couldn't ask for any more. Tim, thank you so much for coming on and explaining this movie with me. Pleasure.
Thank you, Owen. It really was a pleasure.
Where can people get some more of you? Maybe see what you're working on, or if there's anything you'd like to plug at the end of this.
Yeah,
the floor is yours.
Most of the time I can't talk about anything that I'm working on. Happily, people will get to see, I can talk about the fact that you're going to get to see a Netflix series next year that I've been working on with a guy named Kevin Smith, and it's He-Man, or it's not He-Man, it's Masters of the Universe, I should say. Masters of the Universe Revelation. So that's going to be coming out. So I can talk about that and all the other things I can't talk about yet. If you want to, follow me, please do. It's I am Tim Sheridan on Twitter.
I will leave a link in this video's description. So please do go in and follow Tim, check out his work. And yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Totally fun. I hope we can do it again.
I think it's clear both from my analysis and the insight that Tim Sheridan offered that Man of Tomorrow really excels because of its heart and its characters. And while I don't necessarily think it's a perfect movie itself, I do think the core ideas of the film and how it understands and interprets Superman are a perfect embodiment of what the character should be. It manages to capture the spirit of countless great Superman stories to create a new take on the classic hero that feels timeless yet fresh and familiar. The film feels like an ideological bridge between the two distinct Supermen that we've seen on screen too, the Richard Donner version portrayed by Christopher Reeve and Brandon Routh, and the Zack Snyder version played by Henry Cavill. Man of Tomorrow borrows elements and takes inspiration from both of these otherwise contrasting versions of the character, and combines them to craft a version of the Man of Steel that is so fundamentally Superman. In my opinion, Man of Tomorrow is a brilliant example of both what DC's animated films can and should be, and what modern Superman stories should be as well. I think in terms of DC's animated movies, this is an incredibly promising step in a new direction for them, and if more films either Superman focused or exploring different characters are created in this manner, then the series will undoubtedly thrive once again. And in terms of Superman himself, Man of Tomorrow serves as a brilliant demonstration for what a great Superman story should be, and in a lot of ways feels like a perfect response to the claims that the character is no longer relevant in his traditional form. Man of Tomorrow is clearly a film set in the modern world and made for modern audiences, but it doesn't attempt to change the core characteristics of Superman to fit these surroundings. Instead, it showcases the things that have made this character so long-lasting for generations, and demonstrates how the ideals at the heart of Superman remain just as relevant now as they were years ago. Man of Tomorrow is ultimately both a celebration of the aspirational and inspiring nature of the Superman character, and the showcase of the incredibly human aspects that make Clark Kent not just one of us, but the best of us. The film serves to demonstrate how the values at the heart of Superman are timeless, how hope and optimism are virtues the world needs now in 2020, no different to how they were in 1938, and by extension, how Superman himself is also still needed and is still important, and how he serves as an inspiration both to the people he saves within his stories and also to us in the real world, as a guiding light demonstrating to us the people we can all be tomorrow, today. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a like on the video and leave a comment down below as well. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about in today's video. I can't wait to hear what you have to say as always. I want to give a big special thanks to Tim Sheridan for sitting down with me and helping explain Superman Man of Tomorrow. If you enjoyed listening to our discussion, next week I'll be uploading the full 45-minute long interview. So if you want to make sure you check that out, please do hit the subscribe button and press the notify bell so you know exactly when new videos go live on the channel. If you enjoyed this video though, there should be some others on screen that you might enjoy also. And if you want to help support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/OwenLikesComics. If you want some more of me, you can follow me on Twitter just at OwenLikesComics. And that's all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, take care and keep reading.